Fidget spinner? The original fidget spinner. What is this thing? Karambit? What the hell's a karambit? Oh, it's like a claw. The claw. The claw. That's not a knife. That's a knife. Oh, not yet, not yet, not yet! Whether you're using your knife in the kitchen, at work, in the field, like camping, hiking, backpacking, or something like that, or in a dojo for training purposes, it's always super important that you always treat your knife with respect and a healthy fear. In the martial arts, when we're using training knives, knives that are not sharp on any side, we use it both for learning how to defend against somebody with a knife who's trying to attack us, and how to use a knife for self-defense. When I'm teaching my students about emergency preparedness and survival and stuff like that, where they're using their knife as a cutting tool, those same safety rules apply. Whatever knife you're using, it's important that you make sure you understand how it works, meaning how you open it, how you use it, how you close it. Not all folding knives open and close the same. Not all folding knives will stay open or locked open when they're open. So it's very important you understand how they work so that when you're holding it or handling it or using it, you don't cut yourself or anybody else around you. So in this video, we're going to go over a whole bunch of basic, to a lot of people it'll seem like common sense stuff, but common sense ain't all that common. We're going to go over the basic knife safety rules, guidelines, concepts, and ideas to help keep you and the people around you safe when you're using your knife. What's up, warriors? This is Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training, here to share with you some warrior skills and drills that anyone can learn and everyone should know. If you're new to the channel, welcome and thanks for stopping by. If you're already following us on social media and that's how you found your way over to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops, and you get all sorts of cool content from here as well. All right, so on the table I have a pretty wide variety of knives, from throwing knives to what's called a karambit. It's like a claw, to a balisong or butterfly knife, to switchblade, to fixed blade, to, I brought this home from the Philippines. I don't know what you even call this. Machete, maybe, I'm sure. I know in Filipino they have a name and I always get the names mixed up. But big knife, small sword, I'm not sure. I have regular folders with a locking, locks into place so it won't fold closed. Multi-tool, this one locks. A Swiss Army knife, this one doesn't lock. So if you were to try to push on the back for any reason or not careful with how you're using it, the blade does not lock in place. So some of them have fixed blades, some of them are folding knives, some lock open, some don't lock open, some are automatic, and some are auto assist or spring assisted, which means you apply a little bit of pressure and it swings open the rest of the way. Now, these, compared to the butter knife and cutting knives that you have in your kitchen, obviously there's some similarities and obviously there's some differences, but the safety rules are the same across the board. You always want to treat them, safely and carefully so that you don't hurt yourself and you don't hurt anybody else around you. One of the first and most important rules about knife safety is if you don't know how to use it, leave it alone. Ask somebody who does know how to use it to help you out, show you how to use it, watch you try it to make sure that you know how to do it, and then you just obviously take care of it and use it safely. And once you look like you kind of have the idea, they can sit back, watch to make sure you're using it safely, and then you know how to use it, and then you follow all the other safety rules to keep yourself and the people around you safe. If you're a kid, or you're sharing this video with your kids, or you're going to have the rules for your kids, the most important rule for them is before they even go near a knife, that they get somebody's permission to let them know that it's okay or not okay to be using it. And it's kind of our job to keep an eye on them so that they don't touch knives that they shouldn't be touching. Always treat your knives with respect and a healthy fear. They're sharp. Man, you could really hurt yourself or somebody else. So even if you're, hey, I've had a knife my whole life, I know how to, I'm comfortable with it, you got to always just be careful because accidents happen. Treat them with respect and a healthy fear because they're sharp and they could hurt you or somebody else, especially if you're like only half paying attention. So pay attention to what you're doing and be careful with them at all times. Remember that your knife is a tool, not a toy. In the dojo, and I'm teaching martial arts and we're doing knife training, whether it's defense against the knife or using the knife to defend yourself, we use trainers. So they're these, you carry a folding knife, so you should train with it so that you draw it and you're ready to use it or to for cutting purposes or for self-defense purposes, well, we use a trainer for the same exact thing. So you got to have a trainer that matches the one that you carry so that you can take it out, be ready, and always treat it the same way. So even though it's a trainer and it's not sharp, even the point, it's rounded, but it's not sharp, you treat this the same way you treat that, because the habits that you develop are going to be the habits that you'll use when you're not 100% on your game. So it's really important that we understand that there's no fooling around, whether you're using it a training tool, a live blade, obviously, but that it's a tool, not a toy, and there should be no horsing around with it. That's a no-go. The next rule I'm breaking in a really bad way, but it's for instructional purposes. I'm the only one here, and unless I trip and fall and dive headfirst into this table, I should be okay. But a folding knife should always be kept folded, closed, when not in use. If there's a way to retract the blade in any way, we keep it closed when not in use. Any fixed blade knife that has a sheath should be kept in its sheath when not in use at all times. If it folds in some sort of crazy way, again, we keep it folded, closed. If there's a latch or something on it to help keep it stay in place, that should be you should be using that as well. That's part of your safety measures. This is a really important one. They're all really important ones, but this one's really important so you don't get in trouble. Aside from hurting somebody or getting hurt yourself, making sure that you're acting within the law, doing everything legally. Not all knives are welcome everywhere. So know your state laws and your local laws, and there's certain places where you just cannot bring a knife. And if you're a person that carries a knife for work purposes or whatever, every day, before you go wander in somewhere and get into a lot of trouble, look into the laws in your state, region, whatever, so that you know what you're allowed to do, not allowed to do, so you don't break any laws and you operate legally, safely, and of course within the law, so you don't get yourself in trouble. Here's one that sounds like common sense, but I've been camping plenty of times and around people that were using knives plenty of times, and it's really incredible how often I see people using a knife in an unsafe manner. So again, this is a trainer, it's not sharp, but anytime you're going to be cutting something, so I use my stick here, which I wouldn't cut. We use this for Filipino martial arts. But if you were going to be cutting something, you always cut away from yourself. I hope you all know that, right? Obviously, if you cut toward yourself, even close whittling and stuff, you got to be very careful, because if you slip, you could cut yourself, and you have a lot of very important veins and arteries all over your arms. And we'll get to another one in a moment. But obviously, always cut away from yourself. If there's no way to cut away from yourself and you feel like you have to cut toward yourself, figure out a different way. Figure out a different way. Make sure you're always cutting away from yourself. In the event that your knife slips, you could do a lot of damage to yourself. And depending on where you are, especially camping, hiking, hunting, stuff like that, where a doctor may not be close by, you could find yourself in a real pickle. So be careful and always cut away from yourself. When it comes to cutting away from yourself, there's what's called the death triangle, the triangle of death. And it sounds kind of dramatic. But it has to do with when you are sitting and cutting. A lot of times in scouts or camping or whatever, you're kind of sitting down and you might be cutting firewood or processing some wood to put in the fire or whittling something or whatever. When you're cutting in between your legs, you have some really big arteries down there, and you want to be super careful that you don't ever slip and cut into yourself. So if you're sitting, put your hand over your knee, cut away. Or you could put your hand on your knee or your leg or whatever, keep the blade away from you, and pull the wood or whatever thing it is that you're trying to cut. But again, the triangle of death refers to the space between the knot of your belt, or that's a martial arts thing. That refers to your belt buckle and your knees and the arteries that are in there, your femoral arteries, that you want to make sure you don't slip off something, especially trying to cut something hard, you slip and cut yourself. So not just cut away from yourself, but make sure that you're cutting outside of if it slips, it's definitely not going to hit you or anybody else. You have what's called your blood circle, and a blood circle is pretty much one arm's length, holding your knife 360 degrees around you. Anybody that's in that range of one arm's length could be in danger of, if the knife slipped or got away from you, you're trying to cut something, maybe with a dull knife, or you met some resistance and you're trying to force it, which you probably shouldn't do, and the thing goes. You don't ever want to cut somebody by accident. So your blood circle is basically one arm's length all the way around you. Now that goes for when you have a folding knife or a sheath knife or a pocket knife, especially one that opens on deployment. Anytime, like I carry one that does that. So part of my everyday carry is a folding lock, click, but it's got a hook on the back. Again, we'll cover this in another video, but it's designed so that it clips in my pocket, but when I pull it, it gets caught on my pocket and opens. So it stows like a folder, but opens like a fixed blade, or deploys like a fixed blade. In a pinch, in a hurry, for self-defense, you'd want something that's going to be open when you need it to be open. So for me, I know that anytime I take it out or I train with it, I always take a quick glance behind me to make sure that there's no one there, that I'm not going to slip and hit something or someone or my dog or any of that stuff. So be very aware of your blood circle, that 360 degree circle around you at one arm's length with a live blade. Also, that if the knife was to slip from your grip or get away from you, that you're not going to cut anybody or hurt anybody. Talking about a knife slipping from your grip, there's a saying, a falling knife is sharp on all sides. So if you're ever cutting something or carrying something or about to hand a knife to somebody, or somebody's about to hand one to you and it drops, don't ever try and catch it. Just let it go. If you could let it go and back out of the way so it obviously doesn't land point first on you or edge first on you, but don't ever try and catch it, because as the saying goes, a falling knife is sharp on all sides. And, you know, my luck, I'll go to catch it and I need a bunch of Band-Aids or worse. So if a knife falls, let it go. On the note of passing a knife to somebody else or having someone pass one to you, if I was going to pass a folding knife to somebody, I would make sure that it was closed first. I hand it to them. And a good rule to get into, I learned this back in Cub Scouts a long time ago. When you're handing a knife to somebody, I want to hear them say, like, got it, or in the Scouts they'd say, thank you. So when somebody hands me a knife, or any tool for that matter, once I have a firm grip on it and it's okay for them to let go, I say, thank you. So another thing is, with tools, maybe like, got it, got it, got it, got it. Making sure that when you hand it off, obviously you're handing it to them safely, but you want to make sure that they have a firm grip on it before they walk away with it. When you're using a fixed blade knife, I would make sure that it's in its sheath and secure before I hand it to them. And I hand it to them handle first. I hand it to them with the edge away from my hand, because if it was a knife that, let's say, doesn't have a sheath, like a kitchen knife, and I'll use one of my throwers here to demonstrate, as if it were a kitchen knife. Obviously, you don't hand it to them point first, right? I would flip it over, so I'm going to hand it to them handle first, and I always want the edge away from myself. Obviously, the edge should be facing in some sort of safe direction, either down or away, at the very least away from yourself. But again, I hand it to somebody, and when I hand it to them, people I train with, I wait for them to say thank you. If they don't say thank you, I'd say, you got it? I almost want to feel them, like that they do have control. I say, got it? They say, got it? I say, okay. So when you're handing a knife to somebody, if it has a sheath, it should be in it. If it's a folder, it should be closed. If it doesn't have a sheath and it's not a folder, then you hand it to them, holding the blade safely so you're not touching the edge. Hand it to them handle first. If they don't say thank you, say you got it. When you wait till you hear them say got it and they have control of it, then you release. That's how you would hand a knife to somebody else safely, or receive one from them safely. Here's another one that sounds like common sense. Only use your knife when you are well rested and alert. Simple, right? Sounds simple, but again, common sense is not that common. If you feel like you're tired or drowsy, or you don't feel like you're at your best, before you start messing with knives, edged stuff, or any tools for that matter, especially power tools, just get some rest first, or don't use that tool. So I have a sharpening kit here that I use all the time. I'm going to do another video on this. The next rule is keep your blade sharp. A lot of times people think, oh my God, it's too sharp, you could really hurt yourself. The opposite is true. Yeah, yes, you could cut yourself more easily with a sharp blade, but the idea is that for it to be a cutting tool and serve its purpose best, it needs to be sharp and maintained. A dull blade may not cut, or probably won't cut the way you need it to, and then you start putting extra force on there, and then when it slips or gives, that's when accidents happen, whether it's slipping from your grip or slipping from the thing that you're trying to cut, and you don't want it to slip and go somewhere that's not supposed to go and hurt somebody. Because even a dull blade could hurt somebody too. So a sharp blade is a safe blade. Keep your blades sharp. Always keep your knife's blade and handle clean. A clean blade will stay sharper longer, and a clean handle will allow you to have a secure and firm grip on it without slipping out of your hand or making it any less comfortable for you. Sometimes if you find like your hand is dirty or the grip is dirty and you're kind of repositioning your grip or something while you're using it, no good. Make sure that your blade is clean, your handle is clean, and always well maintained. Another really important tip is use your knife for its intended purpose. Remember that it's a cutting tool. It's not a pry bar, it's not a screwdriver, it's not a hammer. Use it for its intended purpose so that you don't snap the tip off your blade and kind of ruin your knife. I've seen people trying to like hammer something and what they're doing with the other side of that thing is super dangerous. Just be careful with that. Or trying to use the end as a screwdriver and it's got all sorts of bad written all over it. So just be careful. If you need a different tool for a different thing, then get that different tool. But don't use, obviously, a sharp edged blade to help you do the wrong thing. Aside from hurting your blade, you could hurt yourself, and then that's no good. And again, if you have any question on how to use any one of the knives that you have, going to be carrying, going to be using, you're going on a trip, whatever the purpose is, if you're not sure how to use it, ask. Don't just try and fiddle with it, especially if it's a sharp blade. If the person that owns it is maintaining it as they should, and you do the wrong thing, you're going to cut yourself. I've been there. That's why they're called accidents. This is a locking blade that the way to close it is a button on the side. So it won't close, but you push that button. That's what unlocks it, and down it goes. This has a frame lock. Similar concept. Open. Won't close. There's a little notch in here. You push on that thing, start folding it. Now, if I were to not practice with this or somebody else who was going to pick it up for the first time and not know how to close it, this happened, and I'm watching them close and they're about to close it on their thumb. I'm like, whoa, stop. So again, ask, practice, get some help, let somebody kind of watch you do it, and keep yourself safe. Something like a Swiss Army knife where the blades don't lock, hold it where your fingers are completely out of the way before you start closing the tools on it. Fingers out of the way, push. Don't grab, don't pinch. I try to just keep as much stuff out of the way as I can to close it. My multi-tool, same thing, it has a frame lock. So close it. Once it's unlocked, fingers are out of the way, hand open, fold it, close, safe. When I'm putting away a fixed blade knife into its sheath, pay attention, have a firm grip on the sheath, have a firm grip on the knife, slowly insert, make sure it's secure. If it's a knife that has like a button or some other thing, same thing, clear, safe, away, lock it up. This one, it's called a Kydex sheath, firm grip, insert, wait for the click, in. It's another one. It's like a similar but different fixed blade with a can opener on the back. Check that thing out. A bottle opener. Oh my God, it's the best. Click. Safe. Not all of them will have that. It sits in. You just make sure it's in. It's not going to fall out. The bigger one, in, safe. Just take care of your stuff. Be careful how you use it. Be careful where you leave them around. Make sure that you're keeping them safe and clean and oiled and sharp so that they function the way you need them to when you need them to. Remember that learning how to use a knife properly isn't just about the type of grip you're going to have when you're cutting or how you're going to hold the material that you're trying to cut. It's about how to operate it. Sounds crazy because, oh, it's just a knife, but it's not just a knife. So make sure you're paying attention to how you're going to open it, use it, close it, maintain it, stow it, all that stuff. All part of knife safety. And again, even if you're using something like a trainer, so I have trainers, fixed blade trainers, folder trainers, karambit trainers, butterfly knife or balisong trainers, and a whole bunch more that I didn't bring out here. But we treat the trainers the exact same way. If I see somebody in class using one of the trainers like silly, goofy, dangerously, messing around with it like it's a toy, not a live blade, even though it's not a live blade, no go. I got to be strict on that because habits we train are habits we gain. And if they're going to be dangerous and act, inappropriately with a trainer that's not sharp, not live, I can't trust them with this. I sure can't trust them with a live blade. Be strict with your training. Be strict with the people you are training. Be strict with the people who are training around you. You might find yourself inside of their blood circle when they're not paying attention and you're the one that gets cut. So be careful, be safe, and train hard. So if you made it this far and you like what I'm teaching and preaching, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and like this video. If you're loving it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you gotta have it, go ahead and hit the bell notification button and YouTube will let you know when the next video drops. If you're really digging it and you gotta have more, you can find us on all social media platforms at 5 Elements Tactical. Well, that's all I got for now, warriors. So until our paths cross again, pray for the best, prepare for the rest. I'm Kyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training. Thanks for watching. The original fidget spinner.